Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moment in every life when the noise becomes unbearable. The pressure, the pursuit, the endless chasing of what we believe will finally make us happy. We chase titles, relationships, money, validation, like thirsty men running toward a mirage. But let me ask you something. What if happiness was never meant to be chased? What if it was meant to find you? Only when you become still enough, clear enough, free enough to receive it, you see true happiness is not something you capture, it's something you will. And to welcome it, you must let go. We live in a world obsessed with pursuit. From the moment we wake up, we are taught to chase success, chase perfection, chase love, chase meaning. And along this path of relentless striving, we begin to believe that happiness is just one step ahead of where we are now. If we could just achieve this goal, acquire that possession, reach this position, then maybe, just maybe, we'd finally be happy. But what happens when we arrive there and the joy is brief or absent? What happens when we realize that the pursuit itself never quite delivers the fulfillment it promised? This is the trap of chasing happiness. It always stays one step ahead, moving further every time we think we're close. It teases us with the idea that something outside of us, a moment, a person, an achievement, holds the key to our contentment. But happiness is not something that exists outside of us. It is not a finish line we reach. It is a state of being that arises when the inner noise begins to quiet, when the turbulence within is stilled. There is a profound misunderstanding in the way we approach life. We think more doing will lead to more being. We think that by doing more, achieving more, acquiring more, we will finally be happy. But the truth is the being, the calm, the joy, the satisfaction does not emerge from constant doing. It emerges from awareness, presence, and stillness. These are not the results of chasing. They are the conditions in which happiness naturally arises. When you chase something, you are declaring that it is not already with you. You are placing it at a distance, somewhere in the future. And in doing so, you reinforce the belief that you are incomplete right now. You carry this sense of lacking to every moment, and no matter what you achieve, that emptiness lingers. The chase does not fill it, it deepens it. Welcoming happiness requires a completely different posture. It is not about running faster. It is about stopping. It is about breathing. It is about recognizing that the seed of peace already lives within you, and the more you are willing to be still, the more it begins to grow. It does not demand effort, but it does demand awareness. And in this awareness, you begin to notice the beauty in simplicity, in the sunlight through the window, in the sound of your breath, in the silence between thoughts. To welcome happiness is to shift from resistance to receptivity. It is to open your hands instead of clenching your fists. It is to say, I don't need to be more. I don't need to have more. I am already enough. This kind of surrender is not about giving up on your goals or dreams. It is about letting go of the belief that your worth and your joy depend on them. This is where most people struggle. The idea of letting go feels like a threat to their identity. They fear that without the chase, they will lose their drive. But what they don't realize is that when happiness is welcomed rather than chased, action still happens, but it flows from peace, not pressure. You can still build, grow, achieve, but you do it with joy in your heart, not emptiness in your chest. When you welcome happiness, you stop trying to force life to give you what you think you need. Instead, you start to listen, you start to observe. You start to trust that the rhythm of life is not chaotic, it is intelligent. You begin to notice that even in stillness, you are guided. Even in quiet, you are supported. This shift is subtle but powerful. It moves you from desperation to devotion. You stop measuring your worth by how productive you are. You stop waiting for life to be different so you can feel okay. You learn to rest in the moment, to soften your grip, to smile for no reason at all. Happiness is not a prize for the perfect. It is not reserved for those who figure everything out. It is available now, here, in this breath, in this silence, but only if you stop long enough to feel it. Only if you stop trying to control everything long enough to recognize that happiness is not hiding. It's simply waiting for you to open the door. You can't force the sun to rise. You can only make space for its light. You can't demand peace to come. You can only become quiet enough to notice it was never gone. And you cannot chase happiness and catch it, because happiness is not running away. It is standing still. It is waiting for you to stop. From the outside, letting go can appear as surrender. as if you are giving up or walking away from something too difficult to face. It can seem like weakness, the opposite of what we are conditioned to believe strength looks like. We are taught that strength is holding on, enduring, pushing forward no matter the cost. We are taught that real power lies in control over ourselves, over outcomes. And yet, this belief quietly enslaves us. The more tightly we grip, the more pain we create. The more pain we create. The more we try to dominate life, the more it resists us. There is a different kind of strength, quiet, steady, and unshakable, found in the act of letting go. It is not passive. It is not cowardly. It takes great courage to release what we once thought defined us. It takes deep self-trust to let go of the narrative that has shaped our identity. And it takes wisdom to realize that not everything is meant to be held on to forever. Some things come into our lives as lessons, not as permanent fixtures. Letting go is an act of choosing presence over attachment. It is choosing what is real over what is familiar. Familiarity can be deceptive. Just because you've carried something for a long time doesn't mean it still belongs with you. We hold on to pain because it's known. We hold on to toxic relationships because we fear the unknown. We grip tightly to titles, roles, beliefs because they give us a sense of control. But real power is not found in control. It is found in clarity. When you let go, you reclaim your energy. All the mental and emotional weight you've been carrying, regrets from the past, fear of the future, the burden of perfection, suddenly begins to lift. And with it, your vision clears. You begin to see who you truly are, not who you've been trying to be. You begin to move not from fear or habit, but from awareness. And in that space, your power awakens. Letting go is not about pretending that things didn't matter. It is not about denying your experience or your pain. It is about accepting what is and releasing what no longer serves your growth. It's about saying, I honor what was, but I choose not to be bound by it anymore. That is a powerful declaration. One that does not come from weakness, but from deep inner resolve. You cannot grow while holding on to what is dying. You cannot evolve while dragging the weight of your past self behind you. And you cannot step into your power while clinging to comfort or fear. Letting go is how you create space for something new. It is how you allow transformation to happen, not as something forced, but as something natural. How? Nature shows us this constantly. Trees shed their leaves without resistance. Rivers do not cling to stones. The sky does not mourn yesterday's clouds. Many of us associate strength with resistance, with standing firm, with fighting back. But sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to stop fighting, not to surrender the struggle, not because you are defeated, but because you finally understand the fight was never yours to win. Letting go is a conscious decision to stop exhausting yourself in battles that are no longer aligned with your truth. There is a quiet revolution that happens inside when you begin to let go. You stop needing to prove yourself. You stop chasing validation. You stop fearing change. You realize that everything you were trying to hold on to for security was never your true source of strength. Your power comes from within, from your presence, your awareness, your ability to remain centered even when the world shifts around you. And letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you care with openness, with fluidity, with freedom, not with control or fear of loss. You can love deeply and still let go. You can hope fiercely and still surrender outcomes. That balance is where true power lives, in the ability to hold things gently knowing nothing is permanent. Letting go often feels like a death. The death of a version of you that once served a purpose. But in every ending, there is the potential for a beginning. In the emptiness that follows release, new life can grow. The soil of your soul becomes fertile again when the dead roots are cleared. And from that soil, something real can take root. Not born from fear, but from freedom. Power is not in resistance, it is in alignment. And alignment requires space. Space that can only come when you let go of the noise, the clutter, the weight. When you finally stop grasping, you find that life begins to flow again. Your breath deepens, your mind quiets, your steps become lighter. And perhaps the greatest truth of all is this: what is truly meant for you will never need to be clung to. It will remain. Not because you force it to, but because it flows naturally with who you are becoming. Letting go is how you discover the truth. Letting go is how you return to your power. There is a posture we carry, not just with our bodies, but with our hearts. A posture of tension, of holding, of gripping tightly to the things we believe we need. We close our hands around our plans, our possessions, our identities, as if letting go would mean losing everything. But when your hands are closed, clenched tightly in fear or control, nothing new can enter. You block the very flow that life uses to bless you. It is not punishment. It is simply the nature of holding on. So you cannot receive what is meant for you when you are already full of what you refuse to release. We cling because we fear emptiness. We believe that if we let go of what we have, we will have nothing. So we grip tighter to relationships that are no longer nourishing, to beliefs that no longer serve, to routines that drain our spirit. The tighter we hold, the more pain we feel. And still, we tell ourselves, at least I have some. But the truth is, when your hands are full of what no longer belongs, you carry the weight of what is outdated, not the gift of what is needed. Life is movement. It is dynamic. It is always offering new opportunities, new wisdom, new energy. But to receive them, you must be open. You must create space. Just as a cup must be empty before it can be filled, your inner space must be clear before something meaningful can arrive. If you are filled with yesterday's thoughts, yesterday's attachments, yesterday's expectations, you are unavailable for what today is offering. Closed hands come from a survival mindset. They whisper to us, there won't be more. This is all you get. Don't let go. But this is a lie born from fear, not from truth. Life is not a one-time offer. It is a continuous flow. The only requirement is your openness to receive. And openness is not passive. It is an active choice to trust. It is an act of surrender and courage. You cannot receive love while clinging to fear. You cannot receive peace while holding onto resentment. You cannot receive abundance while operating from scarcity. Every clenched hand is a reflection of a clenched heart. And just as a muscle grows tense with overuse, your spirit grows weary from too much gripping. Release is not just healing, it is necessary for growth. When we hold on too long, we become rigid. Our ideas become fixed, our hearts become guarded, our vision narrows. We begin to see life through a filter of preservation rather than expansion. But growth always requires a stretch, a release of what was in order to make space for what can be. And in that space, something unexpected can take root, something more aligned, something more alive. We must be willing to unclench our fists, both literally and metaphorically. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that no amount of force can bring us what openness can. Holding on out of fear builds walls. Releasing out of trust builds bridges. The bridge to what you long for is only built when you let go of what no longer belongs on the journey. Imagine trying to catch the rain with fists closed. No matter how hard you try, you will remain dry. But open your palms and suddenly the rain begins to bless you. This is how life works. The blessings are always there, but only those with open hands and open hearts are able to feel them. The effort is not in chasing the rain, but in softening enough to feel it. Receiving is not just about gifts or opportunities. It is about insight, wisdom, peace, clarity. These cannot be forced. They arise naturally when we are quiet, spacious, and available. You may not even realize what is waiting for you because your focus is on what you don't want to lose rather than what you might gain. Shift that focus and the entire energy of your life begins to change. Often we think that letting go is an act of loss, but more often it is an invitation. Life is asking you, can I give you more? And your answer is not in words, but in the way you live. Are you still clinging to pain or are you making space for healing? Are you attached to your image or are you open to becoming more authentic? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary. The wisdom of life is subtle but clear. It knows what you are ready for, but it will not force it into your grasp. It will wait patiently for the moment you choose to open. And when you do, the shift may be quiet, but it will be undeniable. You will begin to notice how things start to move, how clarity arrives, how people and opportunities find their way to you without struggle. The truth is, receiving is not about deserving, it is about readiness. And readiness comes from trust. Trust that you don't need to hold on so tightly anymore, but trust that what is meant for you will not pass you by. Trust that life has more to offer than you allowed yourself to imagine. All of that becomes possible the moment you release the grip and open your hands. We are conditioned to believe that freedom is something we earn through accumulation. Accumulate wealth, accumulate status, accumulate knowledge, and then, finally, you will be free. Free from worry, free from need, free to live as you wish. But this is a misunderstanding of freedom. The more we accumulate, the more we carry, the more we carry, the more we carry, the more we are bound. True freedom is not found in adding more to our lives. It is found in releasing what we do not need. Accumulation creates an illusion of security but often leads to greater attachment and fear. We fear losing what we've gathered. We fear falling behind. We become protective, even possessive of the things we believe we've earned. And slowly, without realizing it, we become trapped by the very things we thought would set us free. Our homes become filled. Our minds become cluttered. Our hearts grow heavy. We begin to serve what we once thought served us. There is a deeper kind of freedom, the kind that doesn't depend on circumstances. It lives not in the external, but in the internal, and it is access to release. When you let go of what you don't need, whether it's physical possessions, limiting beliefs, emotional baggage, or false identities, you return to something much more natural, much more alive. You return to lightness. You return to yourself. Release is not about lacking. It's about choosing space over clutter. It's about making room for clarity, for breath, for movement. A bird cannot fly if its wings are bound. A person cannot be free if they are weighed down by the past. The art of living lightly is the art of letting go. The more you release, the more room you create for what truly matters. We are taught to define ourselves by what we own, by what we've achieved, by what we can prove. But real identity is not built through stacking things on top of who we are. It is discovered by peeling away the layers that are not us, the titles, the roles, the obligations we've accepted without question. These are not always signs of success. Sometimes they are signs of disconnection from our true essence. There is a quiet power in minimalism, not just in material things, but in the way we think, speak, and live. To say less but mean more, to do less but with greater presence, to own less but feel more abundant. This is the paradox of release. The less you cling to, the more open and alive you feel. Accumulation often narrows your path. Release expands it. Letting go is not a loss. It is a return to simplicity, to presence, to truth. It's a movement back toward what is essential. And when you live from the essential, you discover a kind of peace that no amount of success or possessions can imitate. That peace cannot be bought. It cannot be bought. It comes only when the noise quiets, when the excess falls away, when you stop running and start listening. We all carry invisible weight, expectations from others, comparisons with strangers, memories we haven't healed, fears we haven't faced. And we tell ourselves we'll deal with them later, but they follow us into every room, every relationship, every dream. The freedom we long for isn't on the other side of more effort. It's on the other side of release. To put down what no longer belongs to you is an act of self-respect. To stop chasing and start trusting is an act of self-liberation. The world encourages consumption but not introspection. You're told to chase, to compete, to accumulate endlessly. But rarely are you asked to stop and ask, what do I actually need to feel free? That question doesn't lead you to more things. It leads you to fewer distractions, fewer obligations, fewer attachments. And in their absence, you begin to notice joy in the small, power in the quiet, richness in the simple. Freedom is not about having everything. It's about not being owned by anything. Not your past, not your fears, not your image, not your possession. The moment you stop identifying with what you've accumulated is the moment you remember who you were before the world told you what to be. That memory, that reconnection is where liberation begins. When you release what isn't aligned with your truth, you no longer need to force life to fit you. You begin to flow with it. You begin to act not from desperation but from clarity. And in that state, even the smallest actions carry profound meaning. Even the simplest life becomes deeply fulfilling because it is real, because it is yours. There is a reason we feel lighter after cleaning a room, ending a toxic relationship, or finishing an old chapter. That lightness is not imaginary. It is your natural state, temporarily covered by the weight of what you carry. When you remove what doesn't belong, you don't just clear space around you. You clear space within you. Freedom, then, is not far away. It's not hidden in some distant goal. It's as close as your willingness to release, as close as your breath, as close as your next decision to let go of what is holding you down so you can finally rise. In the modern world, movement is often mistaken for meaning. We are taught from a young age to keep going, keep pushing, keep striving. The path to success, we are told, is forged through effort, ambition, and relentless pursuit. Stillness, in contrast, is misunderstood. It is seen as laziness, passivity, or even failure. And so we move constantly, seeking, reaching, building, fixing. But in all this movement, we begin to lose touch with something vital, the deeper truth that stillness reveals. Striving creates noise, a mental and emotional buzz that fills the inner space with urgency. In striving, the mind races ahead, projecting into the future. It says, "You're not enough yet. Keep going, keep proving." It convinces us that peace is somewhere down the road, waiting at the end of achievement. But the more we chase, the more elusive it becomes. Like a horizon that recedes as we move closer, fulfillment keeps its distance while we exhaust ourselves trying to reach it. Stillness, however, is not the absence of action. It is the presence of awareness. It is the rare and radical decision to stop running and simply be. In that pause, something remarkable happens. The dust begins to settle. The noise begins to fade. And what striving had hidden, your true thoughts, your real needs, your quiet intuition starts to come into view. The clarity that striving covers up is quietly waiting beneath the surface. In the silence of stillness, you begin to hear yourself again. Not the voice of your ambitions or your fears, but the voice of your inner truth, soft but steady. This voice does not push or rush. It does not beg for validation. It simply knows. And when you listen, you begin to remember who you are, not who you've been trying to become. Striving often leads us outward toward goals, accomplishments, recognition, but stillness draws us inward. It invites us to explore the terrain within, our beliefs, our values, our wounds, our wisdom. It creates the space to examine what we've accepted as normal and ask, is this truly aligned with me? These questions cannot be answered in a hurry. They need quiet, they need patience, they need you to stop long enough to feel the answers rise from within. There is a reason ancient traditions across cultures value meditation, solitude, and silence. These are not escapes from life, but doorways into deeper understanding. They are how we reconnect with the part of us that striving disconnects from, the present moment. When you become still, you are no longer lost in chasing what's next. You begin to notice what's here now. And often, what's here is exactly what you've been looking for. In striving, we often wear masks. We perform roles. We play parts to meet expectations, both external and internal. But stillness removes the need to perform. In the quiet, you meet yourself as you are. No pressure, no audience, no act. And what you find there is not lacking, but whole. Not broken, but worthy. Not behind, but exactly where you're meant to be. The irony is that stillness often gives us what striving never could. Peace that is not tied to success. Confidence that is not dependent on praise. Joy that does not fluctuate with outcomes. These qualities are not earned through effort. They are uncovered through presence. They exist not in the future, but in the now, quietly waiting for our attention. Striving is fueled by a sense of incompleteness, a belief that something out there will make us whole. But stillness reveals that wholeness was never missing. It was just overlooked in the noise of doing. In the stillness, we realize that many of the things we've been striving for are not needs, but distractions, not truths, but habits of mind shaped by fear, comparison, and conditioning. We are often afraid of being still because we think we'll discover something uncomfortable. Sometimes we do. Stillness can surface emotions we've suppressed, questions we've ignored, truths we've avoided. But these revelations are not threats. They are invitations. Invitations to heal, to grow, to release. Striving keeps them buried. Stillness brings them to light. When you give yourself permission to pause, you open the door to wisdom that is otherwise drowned out. You begin to see patterns in your life. What energizes you, what drains you, what drains you, what truly matters. This seeing is not intellectual. It comes not from think harder, but from softening your need to figure everything out. Stillness is not an escape from the world, but a return to yourself. It is where you rediscover your rhythm, your breath, your direction. It is where you reconnect with life, not as a race to be won, but as a moment to be experienced. And the more you practice this stillness, the less you need to strive, because you start to realize that so much of what you've been chasing is already within you. We spend much of our lives searching for happiness as if it were something hidden in a distant place, a goal to be reached, a reward at the end of a long journey. We measure it against our achievements, compare it with others, and chase it through possessions, success, and recognition. Yet, the more we pursue it in the external world, the more elusive it seems to become. It slips through our fingers like water, always present in stories and dreams, and dreams are difficult to grasp in the now. Happiness does not arrive through effort alone. It is not earned like a trophy, nor won like a competition. It is a presence, not a possession, and like any presence, it can only be experienced when we are open, when we are available, when we are not too occupied with carrying the weight of what no longer serves us. This is the quiet truth we often ignore, that happiness doesn't come because we chase it. It comes because we make space for it to enter. Letting go is the doorway to that space. We hold on to so many things, to the pain of the past, to roles we've outgrown, to expectations we've adopted without question. We grip tightly to stories about who we are and what should happen. We carry judgments, regrets, and anxieties, all in an attempt to maintain control or avoid discomfort. But in doing so, we block what is light, what is new, what is joyful. To let go is not to abandon your life. It is to release your grip on how you think it must be. It is to trust that life is wiser than your fear, and that something beautiful can arise when you stop trying to force every outcome. The moment you release your insistence, you begin to flow again. You begin to breathe again. And it is in that breath, that gentle return to presence, that happiness finds its way in. We often believe that holding on gives us strength, but it is letting go that offers us freedom. Freedom to feel again, to see clearly, to choose differently. Letting go clears the fog from the mirror so you can see your true reflection. Not the version shaped by effort and resistance, but the one shaped by grace and openness. That reflection holds peace. That reflection knows contentment. You don't need to add anything to yourself to become happy. You only need to remove what is in the way. Just as a sculptor reveals beauty by chipping away at the excess stone, so too do we uncover our joy by letting go of all that dulls our spirit. This is not a process of accumulation but of release. The more you let go, the more room happiness has to enter. Letting go may begin with the small things, a grudge, a worry, an attachment to an outcome. But over time, it teaches you something greater. It teaches you that you are not the storm of your emotions. You are the sky that holds them. It teaches you that pain does not need to be carried forever. It teaches you that surrender is not defeat but wisdom. Happiness comes to those who are light enough to receive it. It comes when we stop trying to grasp it with force and instead open our hands with trust. It visits those who create space, a way of walking through the world with softness instead of tension. There are moments in life when everything feels uncertain, when you're unsure what to hold on to and what to release. In those moments, turn inward. Feel the weight of what you're carrying. Ask yourself if it's truly yours. Ask if it's helping you grow or keeping you stuck. Sometimes, the most powerful choice is to gently set it down, not because you're giving up, but because you're choosing peace. Letting go is not the absence of care. It is the absence of control. It is not disconnection. It is deep connection with what matters most. When you stop clinging to what no longer belongs, you begin to notice the quiet beauty that was always around you. The way the light moves across the room, the sound of your own breath, the kindness in a stranger's smile. These moments are small, but they are the gateway to joy. Happiness is not loud. It does not always come with fireworks or grand gestures. Often it arrives in the space between thoughts, in the stillness between breaths, in the silence that follows a moment of surrender. But to experience it, you must first let go of the need to chase it. You must allow it to arrive on its own terms, in its own time. In its own time, there is a softness in letting go, but also a great strength. A strength that says, I no longer need to fight this. I no longer need to hold what hurts. And in that moment, when your heart loosens and your grip softens, happiness steps forward. Not as something new, but as something that had been waiting all along, hidden beneath the weight of what you no longer need to carry.